可以啦，林依文而家會開始喺度一半就開始錄影，之前嗰啲未錄影嘅話唔識就問我。
冇錯啦，要問下翁靜之啊嚇，你哋啊，我要講翻先條片嗰度，你哋啊衰啦，林依文堂堂都同你哋錄影，你哋而家先至記得同埋林依文錄影。好啦，跟住啦，呢度 explain why initial rate。咁另一位同學啊，有邊個未問㗎？阿梁歡迎。What is initial rate？ 梁歡迎。係答案 What is initial rate？
Initial rate is the instantaneous rate at time 等於0。
冇錯 ，very good。Is the instantaneous rate at time equal to 0？ 大家記住咯。Is the 原來唔係問呢度啊 ，sorry， 佢問咩啊 ？Explain why initial rate sorry 啊 is commonly used in kinetics。Kinetics means rate of reaction。呢個係另外一個 terms 嚟嘅。Rate of reaction 咧嗰個 category 嗰個 topics 叫做 kinetics。OK，sorry 啊，唔係問 initial rate， 原來係問點解要用 initial rate？ 點解咧？我自己覺得咧，都係同我計數係有關嘅。見到呢類題目咧 ，first of all 咧 ，write down the most general form rate equation。NO to the power A H2 to the power B. I must emphasize A and B 同 coefficient are independent on each other. Do not try to relate them together. 好啦 ，the question asking for why initial rate is used. If I use mathematics, if I substitute rate into initial rate, then I have to substitute NO initial concentration into it. H2 initial concentration into the equation. Can you follow? This is what you have learned in mathematics. So why initial rate is commonly used? Because initial concentrations of reactants are known. Initial concentrations of reactants 呢度 initial concentrations of reactants are known。數學上高唔係死記嘅嚇，所有 science 嘅嘢都唔係死記嘅。Initial concentrations of reactants are known。deduce 啦，嗱 deduce 我做一次，下一份咧就到你哋做。我用兩條公式，嗱，如果你快嘅，你可以用眼睇；如果唔得嘅，我哋列三條公式。因為有啲同學話俾我知唔得嘅，代 initial rate 1.2乘10 to the power 負6等於 K 乘2.5乘10 to the power 負2 to the power A 乘5乘10 to the power 負3 B。It is equation 1。equation 2啦。2.4乘10 to the power 負6等於 K 乘1乘10 to the power 負2 B。2.5乘10 to the power 負2 A。equation 2。equation 3啦。6乘10 to the power 負7等於 K 乘1乘10 to the power 負2 B。1.25乘10 to the power 負2 A。equation 3。Okay. In order to solve for A 咧 I am going to use 3 and 2。3除 2嗱，呢啲都要寫啊，唔好就咁，唔好唔寫，就6乘10 to the power 負7 over 嗱，通常我都大數喺上高嘅，我唔3除2，我2除3，有計仔嘅，有陣時計數都有計仔嘅，因為10 to the power 負6大過10 to the power 負7啊嘛，咁所以有大數喺上高，即係2.4乘10 to the power 負6除 6乘10 to the power 負7等於 K 除 K 約咗呢個部分約咗，咁剩翻嘅咧就係 2.5 除 1.25 to the power 8， 睇唔睇到啊？計數機都我諗都唔使攞出嚟噶啦，係咪啊？呢度即係24啊嘛，6、4、24即係呢度4啦。OK， 得唔得？呢度咧 over 出嚟係2 to the power A 啦，咁所以2嘅 square 係等於2 to the power A 啦，咁所以 A 就等於2，明唔明？嗱，有啲 tricks 㗎，有陣時計數唔好咁死板，要活嘅。你 handle 整數係容易過 handle 份數，所以大數喺上高，細數喺下低。至於啦，如果我要 solve for B，solve for B 咧，我就會用公式2同1啦。咁亦都係今次係2除1，大數喺上高，細數喺下低。2.4除 1.2 等於 K 除 K 約咗 A 同 A 約咗。就1乘10 to the power 負2 5乘10 to the power 負3 to the power B，and then 咧呢度咧就係2啦，等於呢度咧就10除5啦，即係2 to the power B， 咁所以 B 係1，未完噶吓，我 deduce order， 咁你一定要寫翻啦 ，order of reaction。唔可以就咁寫，計完就算數，一定要寫。With respect to 紅色嘅 NO is 2 order of reaction with respect to H2 is 1。O 唔 OK？ 最後尾啦 ，states the rate equation for the reaction。哇，淺到爆啦 ！Rate equation 冒號，記住用冒號，唔好用等於啊，冒號。Rate 等於 K 乘 NO to the power 2乘 H2 to the power 1。Calculate 個 rate constant 好簡單。濕其中一組數落去，濕第一組啦，記住搞清楚個單位就得噶啦。我睇唔到第一組縮細少少先。Rate 係 1.2 乘10 to the power 負6 K， NO 係 2.5 乘10 to the power 負2 5乘10 to the power 負3 1。好啦 ，K 好容易撳。我最想講嘅就係個單位，個單位一樣係用除數除出嚟嘅。Rate 嘅單位係而家 given 嘅係 mole per dm cube per second。嗱，記住啊，係 refer to the question， 唔好自己擺喺心裏面，覺得一定係 per second。有機會係 per minute 嘅 ，rate 嘅單位 mole per dm cube per second， 罰冇啦。濃度嘅 square， 濃度 to the power 1， 所以就係濃度 to the power 3， 睇唔睇到？呢度撳機啦，呢度就變 becomes 濃度 to the power 負2 per second， 呢度你撳機啦。咁所以單位咧就2 dm6 per second， O 唔 OK？OK，
答案係 0.384，
有啲同學唔識撳機㗎，好嘥啲時間喎。
OK 冇嘢啦。
問咩啊？係。跟住
想問
資料
係啊，溫第一條嘅第4部分個答案係咧，我覺得我答唔到呢一句咯，
會啊，我都唔知佢想點係咯。
同埋咧 Miss Chan， 我有個問題，increase the total amount of product produced per unit time， 咪即係 production rate 啊？
冇錯，即係 rate 咯。
哇，
因為 係啊，即係 rate 咯。
明白。
Per unit time 即係 rate 咯。It can increase a higher temperature 係咪問咩啊？問 ship 嘅 equilibrium。
係啊係啊，
係啊。
明白。
To produce higher 咯，係啦。呢度個 remark 係點啊？邊 part 啊 ？B 呢度。
第4個。
係啦。Poorly answered. Many candidates confused the two ideas: removal of product 同埋 removal of
咦？答
product mixture。
咦？
而家題目係
而家係話 the product mixture is removed。哦，即係我哋啱啱諗嗰個 equilibrium 應該係錯嘅喎。佢唔係 removal of ammonia，佢 remove of product mixture。咦
product mixture
佢真係想問咩啊？
係咯，佢 removal of product mixture。
因為如果高濃度嘅話，就會 take longer time to reach equilibrium。That ammonium is the highest yield to be attained。吓？
好怪喎呢條 removal of product。咦，我都冇睇清楚喎，因為通常你有講題目都係出 removal of product 嘅喎。佢想講咩啊 ？removal of product mixture。answer 係咩啊 ？It take a longer time to reach equilibrium。high yield。你唔好理佢咯，好怪啊！
應該冇再咁出過啦，嗬？係咯。
冇咁再出過，冇啊！黐線嘅，怪怪地。係呢 part 啫，冇出過，因為以前 A level 都唔會咁出嘅。好，仲有冇嘢問？呢條2012。而家你哋想唔想自己試下做2013？同埋我想問啦，呢一個嘅溫書有冇用？
有啊，我諗住考試之前咧，每日都睇一次你嗰條片就搞掂。同
埋仲有 electrolysis 咯，我呢個係未溫嘅，係啦。production of hydrogen 咧，亦都可以係 from electrolysis of brine 嘅。嗱anyway， 而家我不如都播條片先啦，因為有啲同學係未睇嘅，好唔好啊？雍正知我擺咗條片喺邊啊？
你喺 WhatsApp 度 send 咗個 playlist 出嚟啊？
喺 WhatsApp 嘅。
喺我哋個 WhatsApp 度。
係邊條啊？
上面少少你有記低嘅。
呢個？
你想呢個你呢個淨係有你嘅 summary 咯，但係唔係 electrolysis of brine。
係邊條啊？
上去啊！跟住上去。呢個係你呢度。
呢個
呢條 playlist。
好。
之後
因為有同學係未溫啊嚇，我 anyway 我而家都花少少時間落去俾大家睇下。其他同學好做定
第4條片啊 ，Miss Chan。
得唔緊要啊，由頭開始啊，因為有啲同學真係未睇啊。
Question for chapter 54. Please memorize all the industrial process in the form of a flow diagram. Please start with Haber process, which is very famous. Haber process is a process between N2 and H2. N2 and H2 react to produce ammonia. All are in gaseous form. Remember, you have to balance the equation. Put 2 and then 3. This is Haber process. That means N2 reacts with H2 to form ammonia. The conditions, please memorize all the conditions. Temperature is 450 degrees Celsius. Pressure is 280 m, while catalyst is finely divided iron. Please memorize all, you have to. And then next, let's talk about the source of N2. Source of N2 is very simple. Now, because in the air, we have 78% of N2 in the air. So you can carry out fractional distillation of liquid air to separate N2, to separate out the N2, and then it is the raw material for the Haber process. In the next video, I will talk about H2, how H2 is produced in industry. And then in the next video, I will talk about why this process is so useful. It got Nobel Prize. The scientists got Nobel Prize. Why? Let's talk about source of hydrogen. There are several sources, and you have to remember the first one, which is called steam methane reforming. Very obvious. Steam is one of the reactants. Steam with states no longer liquid, it is a gas. React with methane, the formula for methane is CH4. Again, it is a reversible reaction. Products formed are hydrogen and carbon monoxide. Okay? Next, you have to balance the equation. Very simple. Put 3 in front of H2. This reaction is endothermic. Endothermic because its delta H is larger than 0. For endothermic reaction, a higher temperature is favored. So please remember, there is a range from 700 to 1000, but you may remember one of them. Try to relate the first one. For Haber process, 450 degrees Celsius, so double it becomes 900 degrees Celsius. The pressure is 10 to 20 atm, while the catalyst is NiO. Okay. Now, there is a special name for this mixture, N2 mixed with CO. It is called synthesis gas or syngas. Now, it has been asked before, what is syngas? Everybody, you have to remember, it is a mixture of H2 and CO. It can be used for synthesis. In the next video, I will talk about what can be synthesized by H2 and CO. Another source of hydrogen, electrolysis of brine solution using a flowing mercury cell. Brine solution is concentrated sodium chloride solution. Everybody please copy this down. And the mercury is the cathode. Mercury is the cathode, copy this down. You know mercury is a liquid metal, therefore it is it is at the bottom of the container, and then there is a flow of mercury flowing in and then flowing out and then going back. Okay, this is the mercury cathode. Now pay attention to the anode. I highlight it in green. At the anode, chlorine gas is produced. Why? While at the cathode, I highlight it in red. At the cathode, we have alloy, which is called sodium amalgam. What is it? And then after that, the alloy is injected into water. And finally, sodium hydroxide is produced. Okay, I will need to talk about all these. Now, let's talk about what happened at anode first. At anode, it is electrolysis of concentrated sodium chloride solution. Anode is the positive electrode. Positive electrode attract negative ion. In the solution, we have chloride ion and hydroxide ion. Now, can you tell me which ions are preferentially discharged and why? Now, chloride ions are preferentially discharged to form Cl2 because concentrations of chloride ion is much higher than the concentrations of hydroxide ion. According to this equation, chloride ion discharged to form chlorine by losing 2 electrons. Okay, therefore you can see from the figure, the green color, chlorine gas, chlorine is produced. Can you see that at the anode? Now, how about at the cathode? At the cathode, remember, it is mercury cathode. Now, cathode in electrolytic cell, it is the negative electrode. It attracts hydrogen ion, and positive sodium ion. Now, something special. It is sodium ions are preferentially discharged instead of hydrogen ion because of the mercury discharged to form sodium, which forms an alloy with mercury. Symbol and name is called this alloy, amalgam. Okay? Remember, amalgam is not the final product. Look at the figure. Look at the red one. Sodium amalgam is injected into another tank. In another tank, water is added. Now, because water is added, so what happened to the alloy? Sodium in mercury reacts with water. Refer to the reactivity series, you know that potassium, sodium, calcium can react with cold water. The others, because they are less reactive, so they cannot react with water. What are the products? One of the products is hydroxide, sodium hydroxide. Another product is hydrogen. How about mercury? Mercury does not react, and so it just throw it out. Remember to balance this equation, we need to put 2, 2, and 2, and moreover 2, okay? And then look at mercury. Now, refer to the next video, please remember, so mercury is toxic, okay? And so mercury is recovered here, and then it's flowing back into the tank. Now, let's look at the product formed inside the tank. The first product is sodium hydroxide. Look at this one. The second product is hydrogen. Hydrogen gas is produced as a result of the electrolysis of brine solution, which can be used as the material for the Haber process. Let's talk about the advantages of using flowing mercury cell. The flowing mercury cell has the advantage of producing.
嗱，呢一度咧考過啦 ，flowing mercury cell 嘅 advantage 咧就係 produce 一啲好 concentrated 嘅 sodium hydroxide，留意係 of high purity。of high purity 純度好高㗎。點解咧？因為咧，我哋係將嗰個嘅睇翻之前個 video 先。因為咧 ，sodium hydroxide is produced in another tank 見唔見到啊？咁所以 sodium hydroxide produce 咧係 of high purity 嘅。因為考過，所以我 emphasize 一下。但係 mercury 咧就有毒嘅 ，mercury 有毒。咁既然 mercury 有毒嘅話，我哋又要諗另一個 setup without using mercury。咁所以 another setup 咧，you have to learn 啦。聽咯。
Using flowing mercury cell. The flowing mercury cell has the advantage of producing concentrated sodium hydroxide of high purity. However, there is a drawback, which is mercury is poisonous. Because mercury is poisonous, therefore, we have to talk about another setup for producing hydrogen chlorine, but this process does not involve the use of toxic mercury. Turn to this page, page 22, electrolysis of brine solution using a cell membrane. Now look at here, look at here, we have a membrane, okay? This membrane has something special. I will talk about this now. Now look at this diagram. We have anode. Now, the anode is titanium. This is anode, positive electrode, because I'm talking about electrolytic cell. While we have cathode. The cathode is nickel, okay? It is the cathode. Cathode in electrolytic cell is the negative electrode. I label it as A, and then this is B. Let's talk about what happened at A and at B, and also what happened in the membrane.
嗱，呢一個 setup 咧，我覺得咧顏色咧都好好記啊！大家見唔見到呢度係深藍色啊？深藍色咧 ，it contain brine solution. That means brine solution is only flowing in the anodic compartment. 睇唔睇到？呢邊係淺藍色，淺藍色咧就淨係水啊 ，acidified water， 淨係水，見唔見到？咁即係一開始咧就將兩個嘅 compartments 咧 ，the solutions 咧 are separated by using the membrane, the iron permeable membrane. 嗱 ，this is important. 顏色係好緊要嘅。So that 咧一陣間繼續講落去咧 ，sodium hydroxide is obtained where in the cathodic compartment of high purity， 純度都高㗎。因為點解我咁講咧？因為有啲同學咧，就算阿謝佳麗都好啦，佢都係 mix up 咗，佢以為呢一個 electrolysis of brine in the membrane cell produce NaOH of lower purity 係唔啱嘅，係 of higher purity 都高㗎。嗱，我再講一次 ，this is another setup you have to learn. It is a electrolysis of brine. Instead of using flowing mercury, it is in a membrane cell. The membrane has something special. It is iron permeable. Iron permeable 即係啲 iron 可以穿透嘅，但又唔係種種 iron 可以穿透喎，只有正嘅 iron 可以穿透，負嘅 iron 見唔見到係 repel 走咗，個 membrane 一定 have something special。一定個 membrane 自己本身係帶少少負 charge， 我哋可以 develop 一啲咁嘅 membrane 嘅。佢自己本身係帶少少負 charge， 有負嘅 ion 咧想走埋嚟，拱佢走，走埋嚟，拱佢走。但係正嘅 ion 咧就無任歡迎，穿透 ion permeable。And moreover 咧 ，we have to talk about 咧 the directions of the movement. Now we have sodium ion moving from the anodic compartment to the cathodic compartment. 得唔得？有用㗎吓！一陣間我會成句同大家做一個 summary， 因為曾經都考過好幾次㗎啦。
Right. Okay, so let's start. First of all, let's talk about at A. A is the titanium anode. Anode means positive electron. Positive electron must attract negative ion. Now in the solution, we have chloride ion, we have hydroxide ion. Now, sorry, I missed something. Now, the structures of this cell membrane is that now NaCl is only fitted in the anodic compartment. Can you see that? NaCl is not fitted in the cathodic compartment. In the cathodic compartment, it is simply acidified water. That means originally the blue solution, which is prime solution, and the acidified water, the red arrow, are separated by the membrane, okay? So what happened at the anode? Let's continue. At the anode, can you tell me which ions are preferentially discharged? Now it's chloride ion once again. Because of concentration factor. Because the concentrations of chloride ion is much higher than the concentrations of hydroxide ion. Therefore, chloride ions are discharged to form Cl2 by losing 2 electrons. So let's look at the diagram on the left-hand side. Left-hand side, that means the anodic compartment. At the anodic compartment, the product is chlorine, okay? Now, let's talk about the reactions at cathode. At cathode, it is titanium. And then in the solution, we have hydrogen ion because it contains water. Or else is hydroxide ion because it contains water. Water undergoes auto-ionization. So at the cathode in the electrolytic cell is the negative electron. It attracts positive ion. In the solution, we have only one kind, which is hydrogen ion. Therefore, hydrogen ions.
明明點解得一款啊？睇翻呢幅圖，呢度冇 sodium ion 啊。淺色呢一邊咧就淨係水咋 ，acidified water 咋，得唔得？咁所以咧呢一度嘅討論咧要小心啲喎。In the cathode, at the cathode, we have got only one kind of positive ion.
In the solution, we have only one kind, which is hydrogen ion. Therefore, hydrogen ions discharged. Not necessary to use preferentially because there is only one kind of positive ion to form hydrogen gas, according to this equation.
係，
但係 sodium positive 嘅 sodium ion 唔係都會可以 pass through 嗰個 ion permeable
啫，但係佢個濃度唔夠高。
明白。
嚇，本身嚟講係冇嘅。OK， 繼續。
Therefore, hydrogen gas is produced at the cathodic compartment. Can you see that? Hydrogen gas is produced. Okay. Now, something special is about the membrane. The membrane.
好啦，講埋個 nickel 先啦。我呢度漏講咗 nickel 咧，其實係 favor 呢一個 reaction 㗎。nickel， 因為 nickel 係呢一個 reactions 嘅，可以咁講咧 catalyst 嚟嘅。
Therefore, hydrogen gas is produced at the cathodic compartment. Can you see that? Hydrogen gas is produced. Okay. Now, something special is about the membrane. The membrane. So please, everybody, please highlight your textbook. The membrane allows ions to migrate, but not all kinds of ions can migrate. Pay attention to this statement. Very important. The membrane allows the passage of sodium ion, but not chloride ion and hydroxide ion. Hydroxide ion and chloride ion cannot migrate, cannot pass through the membrane. Okay, so look at the membrane in the middle. Now, it allows only sodium ion. Where are sodium ion originally? Sodium ion originally are here on the anodic compartment. The sodium ion migrates through the membrane from anodic compartment to cathodic compartment. okay, with this direction. And then look at the cathodic compartment. Originally, we have hydrogen ion and hydroxide ion. Hydrogen ion discharged preferentially. Left behind is sodium hydroxide ion. And then sodium ion pass through the membrane from the anodic compartment to the cathodic compartment. So everybody, please take a look of the solution in the cathodic compartment. Left behind, therefore, is sodium hydroxide with high purity. Okay, and therefore, look at the sentence on your textbook. The resulting solution in the cathodic compartment is sodium hydroxide, containing no sodium chloride impurities. It is composed of about 30 to 35% of sodium hydroxide by mass. The membrane cell represents a
嗱呢一度咧，我想強調咯，千祈唔好 mix up 咯，以為 flowing mercury cell produce 出嚟嘅 NOH 係 high purity，membrane cell produce 出嚟嘅 NOH 咧就 lower sodium hydroxide purity，唔係啊嚇，兩個 cell up produce 出嚟嘅 NOH 都係 of high purity，呢點有冇問題？要記住喎，因為好多同學都 mix up 㗎。咁有咩好處咧？呢度啦，下低呢度啦。首先第一 ，it does not contain poisonous mercury。最好呢句啦。Besides, it requires a lower voltage to operate than the flowing mercury cell. Lower voltage， 錢嚟嘅，電係錢，好貴嘅。
more advanced technology. It does not contain poisonous mercury. Besides, it requires a lower voltage to operate than the flowing mercury cell. Lastly, let's look at this diagram once again. Hydrogen gas is produced. Hydrogen gas is produced. Okay, as a result of the electrolysis of brine solution using the membrane cell, and the hydrogen therefore formed can be used for Haber process. Now, comparison between a flowing mercury cell and a cell membrane. Both can be used to produce
membrane cell
sodium hydroxide and hydrogen.
Look
at this page, very useful. This table is very useful. For flowing mercury cell, the anode is titanium. For membrane cell, the anode is also titanium. Cathode is a little bit different. For flowing mercury, the cathode is mercury, while for membrane cell, the cathode is nickel. The electrolytes are the same. Both are brine solution. Okay, in both situations, brine. But there is a difference. For the membrane cell, the brine solution flowing only in the anodic compartment. Next, let's talk about the anodic reaction. The anodic reaction means anode. Both are the same, which is chloride ion discharged preferentially to form chlorine gas because of concentration factor. For the cathodic reaction in flowing mercury cell, because of mercury, so sodium ion are preferentially discharged to form sodium, which then dissolve in mercury to form the amalgam alloy. But it is not the reaction for membrane cell. For membrane cell, hydrogen ions are discharged preferentially. Not preferentially, there is only one hydrogen ion in the cathodic compartment. Separation between cathode and anode compartment. For flowing mercury cell, there is no separation. But for membrane cell, there is an iron permeable membrane. Something special about the membrane, it allows only sodium ion to migrate from anodic compartment to cathodic compartment. Okay? Now let's recall your memory. We have already talked about Haber process. This is Haber process. N2 reacts with H2 in equilibrium with ammonia. Remember, you have to balance the equation, and also please write down the state. The states for ammonia is gas, gas, and gas. Balance this equation, put 2 and 3. The conditions are 450 degrees Celsius, 280 m, and finely divided iron is the catalyst. I have already completed the discussions about the source of N2 from fractional distillations of liquid air, source of H2 from steam methane reforming, and electrolysis of brine solution using flowing mercury cell and membrane cell. Now, let's talk about the use of ammonia. Remember also the delta H of this reaction, it is endothermic. After you have memorized the delta H, it is quite useful because it is endothermic, exothermic. Sorry. It is exothermic, not endo, exo. Because the reaction is exothermic, therefore, a lower temperature, but not too low, is chosen. Now let's continue to talk about the use of ammonia. As I mentioned before, it got Nobel Prize. The scientists got Nobel Prize. Why? Because of the use of ammonia. The use of ammonia, there are several. The first one is manufacture of nitric acid. By using ammonia, it can be used to manufacture nitric acid. The name of the process is called Oswald process. Oswald process. Maybe you can take a look of your textbook. Okay, Oswald process. It is the manufacture of nitric acid. There are several steps. This is the first step. The first step. Ammonia reacts with O2 in the presence of catalyst. The catalyst is platinum. Not necessary to memorize its temperatures and pressure. It's seldom asked, but it has been asked before about the catalyst. So please memorize. The products are NO. NO, remember, NO. Another product is H2, okay? It is an exothermic reaction, but I think it is not necessary to memorize. It is exothermic because it's seldom asked. This is the first step of the Oswald process. That means oxidation of ammonia to NO. The next step, after NO is formed, NO is further oxidized to NO2. NO is further oxidized to NO2. Okay? And then remember, you have to balance this equation. Finally, NO2 is dissolved in water. NO2 dissolved in water in the presence of oxygen to form ammonia. To form nitric acid, HNO3. I will put all these equations down on my notes. So please follow me. There are 3 steps. The first step, step 1, is to oxidize ammonia. Oxidize means react with oxygen. Remember the catalyst. The catalyst is platinum. You have to drop it down, platinum. As a result of oxidation, NO is formed. NO, not NO2, NO. And then another product is H2O. H2O is also formed, okay? And then how to balance this equation? It is not easy. 記嘢記到死下死下，咁今次咧就用呢個方法去記 n 前面有個4字 n。Once one of the coefficient is memorized， 你記咗呢一個 coefficient，you can work out the others. The others can be worked out. 呢個4啦，所以4個 NO， 4個 NO，understand？And then 咧4、3、1 12個 hydrogen，therefore 咧就6個水，明唔明 ？And lastly, work out the number of O. There are 10 O on the product side, so there are 5 O2 on the reactant side.
你哋有個師姐咧就係背唔到呢條公式啊，所以咧個粒星咧就搣走咗啦，因為佢爭少少咧就有5星嘅。
明冇法啦，錄埋音㗎啦。提醒精神啊，提起精神啦，唔好瞓啦。This is the first step. Step 2， 太眼瞓嘅自己揾水洗面。Step 2咧 ，once NO form。NO is further oxidized to NO2. 又啦 ，again you have to balance this equation， 好容易寫個2字喺前面，然之後呢度寫個2字，搞掂。This is the second step. Step 3咧就係咁樣啦 ，NO2 溶落水 ，but in the presence of O2， 一定要寫 O2， 出乜嘢嘢啦？出咧就出一隻 acid HNO3，HNO3 又係啦，要 balance 呢條公式。又係記嘢記到死下死下，你記到呢個 n 前面有個4字 ，n 前面有個4字 ，and then 咧 you can work out the others。我轉色啦 ，work out 到 the others 嘅，我用綠色啦。呢度有4個 n 啦，所以有4個 nitric acid， 明唔明？有4個 nitric acid 咧，即係有幾多個 H 啦？有4個 H， 咁即係呢度2個水 ，understand？Lastly 咧4、3、1 12個 O，4 餘8、9、10、11、12齊晒。嗱，我想咧呢度 draw 少少大家嗰個 attention， 點樣記呢條公式？我好中意咧將一啲公式咧 related 嘅公式咧 relate together。喺另一課書咧係問過 acid rain 酸雨咧嗰個原因咧係 due to SO2 and NO2 produced from industry. Okay, and then 咧 SO2 and NO2 dissolves in water, rainwater. Finally 咧。Acid rain is produced， 即係工業上高咧，我哋就製造咗2隻 gas， 第一隻咧就係 SO2， 第二隻咧就係 NO2。And then 咧 these 2 gases dissolve in rainwater。After that 咧 acid rain is produced。咁而家咧，我想同大家寫一寫咧嗰2條公式啦 ，dissolve 嗰2條公式。咁啊呢度咧就係 SO2 溶落水，一定要記啊！有冇人已經記到 SO2 溶落水出乜嘢？答唔答到？咁大家都好模糊啊，唔該一定要記啊，係出 HSO3， 係3唔係4啊，係3 HSO3 which is an acid， therefore it produces acid rain。第二隻咧，我想咧就係講嘅咧就係呢一隻啦，就係 NO2。NO2 齋溶落水咧，大家一定要記。我已經訓練到啲同學記到㗎啦嚇，你哋都要記。係出2隻 acid， 第一隻咧就 HNO2， 第二隻咧就 HNO3， 係出2隻 acid，HNO2 and HNO3。咁 balance 佢咧，咁呢度有2個 N 啦，咁所以呢度2個 NO2， 呢度2個 H 搞掂啦。O 都搞掂埋啦， 呢度有5個 O 啦，呢度2月4，4加1係5啦，咁就齊晒啦。所以啦，呢個 look of 呢一個嘅公式啦，呢一條曾經問過嘅 acid ring NO2 溶落水冇 oxygen 嘅時候，就咁 normally 溶落水出兩隻 acid， 邊兩隻？得啊？冇錯啦，如果齋溶落水咧就出兩隻 acid， 一個咧就 HNO2， 一個就 HNO3。但係你睇翻咧，我哋 Oswald process 嘅最撚尾一個 step，what do we want？ Do we want HNO2？ 我哋唔想要 HNO2， 我哋淨係齋想要 HNO3。點樣將 HNO2 轉做 HNO3 咧？點啊 ？Suki 加 oxygen 咯，就係 that's why 要加 oxygen 就係咁解咯。因為我唔想出 HNO2啊。嗱，嘅 chemistry 係好難，你一定要諗方法，盡量將你哋啲唔同 chapter 學過嘅公式而又有關係嘅 relate together。Understand？ 咁所以啦，最後啦 ，nitric acid is produced as a result of the Oswald process。而 nitric acid is very useful，very useful。咁所以咧 Haber process 咧 produce 出嚟嘅 ammonia 咧，亦都係非常之有用。而呢一個咧 Haber process 咧係攞咗Nobel Prize。Now let's talk about another use of ammonia. Another use. Now the first use I have already talked about is to produce nitric acid by Oswald process. Another use of ammonia is to produce fertilizer， 製造肥田料啊。咁 ammonia 咧 produce 咧係鹼性啦 ，in 嗰個 Haber process。In Oswald process 咧，我哋又 produce 咗 nitric acid 啦。This is an acid。Ammonia is a base. What happens if they react together? Acid react with base neutralize to form 乜嘢？ To form salt. Salt is produced. The formula for the salt in this situation 咧就係 ammonium ion together with nitrate ion。With formula 一個對一個 ammonium nitrate， 因為咧1對1啦，咁所以唔好加括弧，兼且咧將啲 charge 咧 delete 咗佢。It is called ammonium nitrate。Ammonium nitrate is a kind of fertilizer。肥田料嚟㗎，肥田料，咁就可以 increase 個 crops 啦，個 yield of crops，increase 個 yield of crops， 即係啲農作物啊個產量啊，因此而可以提升嘅。咁你種多啲食物 crops 咧就係其中一種食物嚟嘅，譬如話我哋嘅稻米啦，我哋嘅菜啦，係咪啊？咁嘅話咪可以 meet 到嗰個嘅 population need 咯。咁所以點解我話Haber process 咁重要 ，Oswald process 都咁重要 ？Finally 就係 produce 一啲日常我哋需要嘅，譬如呢隻 fertilizer。Next 咯。嗱，我哋又做翻少少 revision 先啦。我哋又 start with Haber process 啦。記唔記得 Haber process 係咩 react with 乜嘢出乜嘢啊 ？N2 react with H2 form 乜嘢啊 ？Ammonia balance 佢喎，2個、3個 conditions， 450度、200個大氣壓力 catalyst Fe。我希望咧我咁樣重複又重複咧，大家咧真係記到晒，唔好再唔識啦，知道未？而頭先咧我講過 source of H2 有2個，其中一個叫做 steam methane reforming， 記唔記得 ？steam methane reforming 嘅公式係咩？會乜嘢出乜嘢嘢？仲記唔記得 ？steam formula H2O states methane formula CH4 reform 到啲乜嘢嘢 ？hydrogen and CO。Remember, you have to balance this equation， 因為我發現有啲同學咧唔中意 balance 公式嘅。呢度有6個 hydrogen 啦，咁所以咧呢度有3個 H2， 咁就搞掂晒㗎啦。其他嘢 ，it is an endothermic reaction。endothermic 即係溫度高啲又低啲好 ，higher temperature， 將上高嘅 Haber process double 佢，壓力唔好咁高啦，唔需要去到200啦，10至20嘅大氣壓力。catalyst 係乜嘢 ？Yes, NiO，good, well done。記唔記得我講過，唔好打爛我個招牌，劉金龍嘅全部 100% 嘅同學都識答嘅。What is it？CO mixed with H2 叫做 syn gas， 咁呢一個 video 咧，我想同大家講咧 ，what can be synthesized？ 究竟可以製造啲乜嘢嘢出嚟啦？知道未？製造一隻 globally 非常之重要嘅 chemical，which is methanol。Turn to your textbook page 幾多頁？幫我 check 啊 ，page 26頁 ，page 29頁。嗱，我都揭一揭書啊 ，page 29頁。Manufacturers of methanol， 好啦。First of all, steam methane reforming, we produce a syn gas, CO mixed with H2. Syn gas, syn means synthesis. It can be used to synthesize methanol. Methanol, one of the very important chemical globally. 全球性咧呢一隻 chemical 係好重要嘅 methanol。咁咧 CO mixed with H2 個 ratio 係1:2，係1:2嚇，1:2。一陣間我同你 balance。就 produce 咗呢個 methanol CH3OH。記一記咧，佢個 delta H 係細過0，that means that it is exothermic。既然個 reaction 係 exothermic 咧，溫度唔需要咁高， 唔需要咁高，我哋揀咗250度。壓力咧要揀高啲啦，要揀高啲。點解咧？我哋見到 product side we have only one gaseous molecule. On the reactant side there are 1加2 there are 3 moles of gaseous molecule. 呢度得1 mole 嘅 gaseous molecule。你見到咧呢度少啲 molecules 咧 ，that means that pressure 要高翻啲 pressure， 但係又唔需要高到好似 Haber process 咁高。咁你咧就要記50至到100嘅大氣壓力。Catalyst 咧就要記晒呢一抽嘢啦，成抽要記，唔係 ida 雲啦。It is a mixture of CO、ZNO and Al2O3， 要記晒佢。有冇出過？最緊要嘅考試有冇出過？考試係會出㗎。問 What is the catalyst for 呢一個 process 㗎？唔係講笑話嚇，我遲啲同大家可以睇翻啲 marking scheme， 睇翻啲 past paper。好啦，一齊咧，我哋用 notes 咧嚟到同大家咧係做一個嘅討論咯喎，點記咯喎？好 ，use of syngas。Syngas is a mixture of 乜嘢？答唔答到 ？CO and H2， 一陣間我先睇 ratio 啊。It is a reversible reaction。出乜嘢嘢咧？出一隻 globally 非常之重要嘅 chemical， 我下一個 video 會 show 翻另一個 video 俾大家睇下 ，which is methanol。Formula 係 CH3OH， 個 structure 係咁話，一個 carbon， 一個 alcohol，OH， 一個 alcohol，OH， 所以咧 condense 佢咧就 CH3OH。Remember，you have to balance the equation。我哋流金龍嘅女兒係好唔中意 balance 公式㗎，完全冇 sense 㗎。細個 H， 咁所以呢度兩個 H2。好，記唔記得 delta H 係大過0，細過0，呢度要記一記嘅。呢個係大過0嘅，大過0嘅。大過0嘅意思即係代表溫度高啲好，還是溫度低啲好？誒，我記錯，我寫錯咗喎 ，sorry。delta H 嗱，唔好學我咁喎 ，delta H 係細過0嘅，細過0。細過0嘅話，咁即係話 temperature 高啲好，一低啲好。細過0，低啲好，低到幾多？我哋揀咗幾多？揀咗250 degree Celsius， 知唔知道？壓力咧 pressure 高壓啲好，還是低壓啲好？要 compare 咧，我哋就數 molecule， 數 total 咧 there are 3 gaseous molecule on the reactant side。On the product side 咧 there is only 1 gaseous molecule。咁嘅話已經代表咗 pressure 高啲好，抑或低啲好？余思慧高少少，咁就唔需要去到 Haber process 200個大氣壓力，我哋揀嘅係50至到100個大氣壓力。Catalyst 係最難記。因為冇得解，其實呢啲溫度壓力嗰啲咧，我盡量同你解。但係 anyway， 點解揀個數？我哋都係工業上邊做到出嚟嘅。Catalyst 一定要死記，爭死難背啦，係 mixture of CO mixed with ZNO mixed with Al2O3， 一定要記。As a result of 呢個 process, methanol is produced. Methanol globally very important. Next, let's talk about the uses of 又係問過㗎 uses of methanol。頭先我咧講過啦。Methanol globally is a very important chemical. Why it is so useful? Because of its importance. One is that it can be used as fuel. 佢自己本身都係一個燃料嚟嘅 methanol， 而且就幾 green 嘅 fuel 添嘅，好少 produce 一啲嘅 toxic 嘅SO2 啊等等之類。It can be used as a clean fuel. Clean 啦，我哋冇 green 啦 ，clean。Okay, so that it is a fuel for fuel cell. Fuel for fuel cell. 而第三個用途咧就係 it can be used as a solvent. Can be used as a solvent. 咁我想講咧最後一個應用啦，第四個應用。第四個應用咧 ，it can be used to produce 呢一隻嘢好重要嘅 methanol. Common name is called formaldehyde. 中文仲熟悉，中文叫做甲醛。甲醛咧喺做家私嗰方面好常用嘅。做家私咧，我哋要黐啲皮啊，即係譬如話呢度有個木櫃嚇，個木櫃啊咁家私鋪就問你中意咩嘅cover 啊，即係中意黐邊隻皮啊，黐上去㗎。咁我哋咪要膠水啊，要膠水先將嗰啲皮黐到上個木度啊。咁嗰隻膠水咧就 contain 咧就係 methanol。methanol 甲醛咧係一隻 indoor pollutant 嚟㗎，即係污染室內空氣嘅。好。而個 structure 咧就係咁嘅 ，meth 嘅意思即係個 carbon 啦 ，nal 嘅意思咧即係話有 double bond OH。The structure of methanol 就係 C，condense 佢嘅話咧就咁 condense 㗎嚇，係 HCHO。留意啦，點樣 condense 佢？唔好亂嚟啊嚇，一定要係 CHO for aldehyde。condense 嘅方法一定要寫咗 C， 然之後寫 H， 最後寫 O。千祈唔好咁樣寫，千祈唔好咁樣 condense。HCOH 咁就錯嘅，因為 OH 咧呢一個咧係代表 hydroxyl group。hydroxyl group，but now it is not hydroxyl group，it is aldehyde group。個 aldehyde condense 嘅方法咧係有特定嘅，係 CHO， 知道未？ 第五個用途啦，第五個用途咧 ，it can be used to produce vinegar，sorry 唔係 vinegar，to produce ethanoic acid。ethanoic acid 嘅 common name 叫做 acetic acid， 得唔得？咁我咧就想環繞 last 嗰個嚟有討論 ，to produce ethanoic acid。咁仲有好多應用嘅，咁我覺得你哋都冇乜可能背得晒㗎啦。咁我一陣間同你揀咧，究竟你背邊個，好冇？嗱，我睇翻書先啦，睇下所有嘅應用先啦。第27頁，第26先啦，第26。好啦，呢一個頭先我寫低咗㗎啦。It can be used to produce methanol， 又叫做 formaldehyde， 寫低佢啦。2 It can be used to produce ethanoic acid， 又叫做 acetic acid。2我就想大家記呢兩個啫，其他咧欣賞下得啦。It can be also be used to produce DME，which is dimethyl ether。咩嚟嘅咧？一陣間講下。And also methyl tertiary butyl ether， 呢兩個你哋唔好記啦，根本上記唔到。咁就 and then 啦，我哋睇睇後面咯喎，隔離嗰頁。隔離嗰頁裏面咧，我哋會見到咧 formaldehyde 點解咁有用咧 ？It can be used to produce polymers。Acetic acid 咧 ，it can be used to produce water-based paints。PVA 膠咧，即係其實咧就係白膠漿裏面嘅其中一個成分嚟嘅。Paper coating and glues。DME 咧就係呢個 structure。It can be used to produce 呢啲嘅 aerosol spray propellants。而 MTBE 咧就呢一隻 ，it is a petrol additives。啊，呢啲唔好記，淨係記呢兩個得唔得？即係咩啊 ？methanol 有咩好處啊？有咩用處啊 ？Produce methanol，produce ethanoic acid。有冇出過？最緊要又係問呢句，話俾你聽係有出過嚇，係有考過，公開考試問過 uses of methanol。Now let's talk about one of the use of methanol. It can be used to produce ethanoic acid. According to this chapter 55, page 20。一陣我先抄低，我哋睇咗書先。揭咗呢頁，個名咧叫做 carbonylation of methanol。underline 咗佢 carbonylation。carbonylation that means we have with CO。we have with CO。structures of methanol 咧就係 CH3OH。咁即係話咧，你記咗個名咧，你就知 reactant， 或者你記咗個 reactant 咧，你就知道名 carbonylation。carbonylation means CO of methanol。methanol 即係 another reactant。咁我哋咧就需要咧就係其中一個嘅 catalyst 一個 condition 咧就係 HI 嘅，就係 HI。唔單止 HI 嘅，我哋仲需要 another catalyst 嘅。another catalyst turn to the next page 啦。我哋咧有兩個 process， 一個舊式啲嘅叫做 Monsanto process。Monsanto process 喺1970年啊，我哋咧就用呢個 rhodium 同 HI as catalyst。第二個 process 咧就新少少啊，1996年 develop 嘅，叫做 Captiva process。裏面咧我哋會用嘅 catalyst 咧就係 IR uranium。個好處唔好處啦。Rhodium 咧即係舊式嗰隻咧 is expensive， 新式嗰隻 Captiva process IR is about 5 times cheaper。哇，平好多啊，平5倍啊！另一方面咧 IR 嘅好處咧就係 higher catalytic stability， 穩定啲嘅。仲有另外一個好處咧就係話個 Captiva process 咧 side reaction that produce CO2 and H2 is not likely to occur， 少啲 byproducts 㗎。Higher reaction rate， 少啲 byproducts so that less distillation stage are needed， 唔需要咁多 separation 嘅 process 嘅。It is the difference between Monsanto process and Captiva process。好啦 ，let's drop down on our notes 啦。好，首先咧你要記呢個字，個 process 嘅名叫做 carbonylation of methanol。記咗之後咧就記 carbonylation 即係代表咩話？頭先講過，代表個 reactant 係咩話？喂 ，carbonylation 即係代表個 reactant 係乜嘢啊？嚇，冇人有反應。CO 啊 ，carbon monoxide 啊 ，carbon monoxide。And then 咧 react with another one 咧 ，another reactant 咧就好明顯啦，就係 methanol。咁我哋需要其中一個 catalyst 就 HI 嘅話咧，就會變咗做 ethanoic acid。ethanoic acid。咁我哋分舊同新，舊嗰個 process 咧就叫做 Monsanto process， 而個新少少嘅1990年代嘅1996年代嘅叫做 Captiva process。大家個 process 都一樣。都係上高嗰個，分別只不過係 another catalyst。Monsanto process 咧就用 rhodium RH 做 catalyst， 而 Captiva process 咧就用 IR uranium 嚟做 catalyst。咁點樣記咧？大家咧你睇嗰個 periodic table， 你就見到咧有少少特別啦。嗱，我影一影個 periodic table 俾大家望下。Where is IR and where is rhodium？ 希望盡力咧幫大家咧係將啲嘢咧係會個關係咧係 locate 出嚟。嗱 ，where is RH 係咪呢度啊？係咪啊 ？IR 喺邊啊？就喺後面咋，見唔見到啊？咁即係你記咗一個就記到第二個啦。呢個舊嘅，黑色嗰個舊嘅，而紅色嗰個咧就係新嘅，叫做 Captiva process。黑色嗰個叫做用嘅話咧就叫做 Monsanto process， 而紅色呢一個咧就叫做 Captiva process。呢個新好多啦，1996年嘅，1996年先至 develop 嘅，好冇？好冇？盡力而為去記啦。而咧亦都要記埋咧佢哋嘅 difference between Monsanto process 同埋 Captiva process。盡力而為啦 ，Monsanto process。邊個平啲啊？記唔記得 ？IR 平啲啊，有 RH 平啲啊 ？IR， 所以記第一個先 ，IR 幾多倍平啊 ？Is 5 times cheaper than RH。第一個，第二個邊個 stable 啲啊 ？IR 有 RH 啊？係 IR。我記到 IR 就唔使記 Monsanto 啦，所以你會見到我 table 咧齋一邊嘅啫。IR has a higher catalyst stability。咁第三個邊個 faster rate 啊？用 IR has a faster reaction rate， 得唔得？唔使記晒啊，記晒我諗你哋會死啊，知唔知道 ？Higher produce a higher reaction rate， 得唔得？第四咧，呢個好難記啦。No side reaction， 冇乜 side reaction，so that 咧 less distillation to needed to remove water by 呢一個and the byproduct， 同埋仲有咧 less 冇位啦 ，less water is required。呢個算啦，我放過你啦。即係第四點，我諗好難記嘅啦，但係頭三點唔該記一記。Now I try my best to relate all the process together. You have to dictate, copy down, just like telling a story. Please start with HABA process. HABA process， 我成日睇下可唔可以用啲顏色同大家跟一跟先。先用藍色啦，好冇？藍色 HABA process。HABA process is a reaction between N2 and H2。N2 H2 450度，200個大氣壓力 ，finely divided ion。呢個同學呢度寫錯咗嚇 ，finely divided Fe 啊 ，finely divided ion， 知道未？然之後咧，跟住咧下一 part 咧講故仔咧，第二個咧就講呢個啦，紅色啦。N2 係 from fractional distillation of liquid air 嚟，得唔得 ？fractional distillation of liquid air。然之後咧，第三樣嘢咧，我哋要講嘅咧就係呢一個啦，就係、不如冚唪唥用晒隻色啦，如果咪太花。唔知 HABA process 嗰啲係咪用晒藍色咯 ？fractional distillation of liquid air。咁 H2 咧 produce 咧就係 from steam methane reforming。steam methane reforming 個公式咧就係 H2 steam 啦 ，H2O methane catalyst 係 NiO， 因為呢個去到第二個 process 啦，咁所以轉顏色啦。顏色呢度 endothermic 嘅 ，so that 咧溫度高啲，98度，壓力細翻啲。catalyst 一定要記係 NiO 呢個大家 O， 大家 O。咁跟住 and then 咧CO 同埋 H2 咧 ，which is called syngas gas。咁我用紅色啦，好冇？第三個 process 要記嘅啦。syngas 咧 synthesize 啲咩出嚟咧 ？synthesize 一個嘅 methanol， 佢係一個嘅 exothermic reaction。exothermic reaction so that 咧溫度低翻啲啦，250度，壓力又要高翻啲喎，因為咧 gaseous product 按個 product size 係1 ，reactant size 係3，所以壓力高翻啲會好啲嘅。Catalyst is a mixture of CO、ZNO 同 Al2O3， 得唔得？呢個咧就紅色嘅 process 啦。跟住 and then 咧就講啦 ，methanol 點解 globally 咁重要咧？我轉做另一隻色啦，呢度而家有好多顏色嘅，我揀黃色啦，好冇？咁嘅話咧就係其中一個用處咧就係 carbonylation of methanol 嘅公式咧就係呢一條。OK，carbonylation，carbonyl 嘅意思即係 CO 啦 ，methanol 啦 ，HI 係 one of the catalyst。有舊式嘅 Monsanto process， 有新嘅 Captiva process。The only difference 咧就係個 catalyst。Monsanto process 咧就 RH， 而 Captiva process 咧就 IR。好處唔好處咧？咁我頭先都寫低咗㗎啦，咁呢個咧盡量記啦。第一個咧就係5倍平啦 ，5 times cheaper。Higher catalyst stability，less water required，less distillation stage to remove water， 同埋咧嗰個 reaction rate 咧係高啲嘅 ，significantly higher reaction rate。黃色咯喎。 咁啊 and then 跟住咧就係諗翻咧我哋呢一個嘅 uses 啦。首先講咗 uses of 呢一個嘅 ammonia， 其中一個 use 咧就係 Oswald process， 呢個串錯字啊 W 嚟嘅應該係 Oswald process， 就係 manufacture of nitric acid。我哋牽涉到3個 steps， 2、3記得咯喎，知唔知道？好啦，咁呢一個我用係呢隻色啦。咁跟住啦 ，produce 咗個 nitric acid， 我哋可以做 fertilizer， 呢個紫色啦。By neutralization, you have already learned in form 4。而最後咧就呢個啦 ，methanol 點解咁重要啊？記住睇下一個 video 啊嚇。咁我用咩色好咧？我用藍色啦，就係 as fuel 啦 ，produce from aldehyde 啦，同埋 produce ethanoic acid。而 ethanoic acid 又點解要 produce 啊？就因為佢嘅用處咯。佢嘅用處咧就係唔該記一記啦。咁我咧就用呢一個藍色啦，就係愛嚟做 PVA 膠，就係我哋白膠漿嘅膠。或者你哋嘅膠樽，你哋可以反轉你哋個 Bonaqua 樽，你望下有冇 PEP 呢個 symbol， 應該就有㗎啦，有咧。OK， 咁啊最後啦，成個 picture 睇一睇呢幾隻顏色好冇？睇一睇呢幾隻顏色。首先藍色 Haber process， 跟住冧落去嘅係綠色 steam methane reforming， 再冧落去嘅係紅色就係、produce methanol 再冧落去嘅係黃色就係 carbonylation of methanol。然之後 uses of ammonia 就係橙色 Oswald process。Oswald process 製造出嚟嘅 nitric acid 啊，呢度錯咗嚇 HNO3 啊，呢個應該係呢個唔係，我應該 highlight 得唔靚啫。好啦 ，produce fertilizer 紫色 uses of methanol 同埋 importance of ethanoic acid。希望大家利用呢一個圖去温晒咁多 process 考。
係啦，嗱，我都希望咧透過今堂啦，同大家咧將 chapter 54同埋55。你要學嘅 industrial process 咧，就透過呢一 set 嘅影片咧，係幫大家做咗 revision。咁我自己覺得係有用嘅。不過但 anyway 啦，你覺得有用嘅就搏命睇啦，即係好似翁靜之咁講，即係佢會臨考之前睇，真係睇下，知唔知？好啦，係問問題嘅時間啦，有冇嘢問？所以頭先劉倩儀你話你未學，咁我希望今堂可以同你補翻。我係爭 atom economy， 我真係點樣都教唔到啦。atom economy 我成個 chapter 咧，我都有 teaching videos 嘅。點樣有冇嘢問？翁靜之你咪想問問題啊？其他同學有冇嘢想問？Hello， 翁靜之聽唔到。係，翁靜之你咪想問啊？係 ，Kinsa。
Yeah, so there was this MC question. Okay.
好啊。
Yeah, there was this MC question in our textbook, chapter.
No. You
Okay, I'll
picture,
just say.
You
Oh,
take a picture and then upload to Google Classroom, 好冇？
all right. Okay.
So that we can discuss easily。點啊？翁靜之有咩想
我
問？
upload 咗
你
個 Google Classroom 度。
好 ，refresh 咗未先？呢個係咪？
要 share
係咪呢個
screen 再。
係咪呢個？
要再 share screen，因為睇唔到你個 screen 變咗。
哦，睇唔到啊！等一陣啊，咁樣。又輕咗機添，等一陣啊，等我再。而家睇唔睇到啊？
撈緊，要俾啲時間佢撈你個畫面。
哦，有陣時係咁啊，唔知點解。
係因為個
頭先播
WiFi
係播嗰啲 YouTube 就得啊？
OK 啊，嗰啲 OK 啊。
播完個 YouTube 就唔得，而家咧？
撈緊咯，唔知做咩咧。
咁啊，我刪晒佢，我再嚟過。等一陣啊， 我試下，我刪咗佢，我再入過嚟。Stop。
阿 V，不如我今晚分開。
而家咧睇唔睇到啊？
睇唔到啊，cry。啊，撈緊。
都係睇唔到啊？
睇唔到，唔緊要，不如我 share screen 啦。你 share 就捉住我嘅手，OK。
好啊。我又輕咗機啦。
咁我停咗去錄影先啦，因為都係我問問題啫。